live again, later than usual, but that won't stop us.
All right.
Back again with a very special guest for an extra show this week, Dave Chaffee. Thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm special, all right.
Oh, that's how it's going to start. Sounds
Thanks,
good.
man.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun. I appreciate the flexibility. I know you got a lot of stuff taking care of the little guy and everything, so we really appreciate you making the time for us and people around the world watching.
Hey, anytime, yeah. Luckily, he put himself to bed basically tonight. He wanted to go to bed early, so it worked out well. Like he knew I had something to do. So.
Very cool. Very cool. So you ready for finals?
I'm definitely ready. I feel stronger than ever. I'm injury free. There's no reason I can't go in and hopefully get my third hammer. That's the goal. I've been working for the past year, and hopefully we can bring it home.
Yeah, you said two things there that was stronger than ever and injury free. How much of an impact does just those little injuries have on an arm wrestler, do you think?
Well, let alone when you're competing. But if you have an injury and you're trying to train, you can't train like you normally do. I mean, the way I train, it's everything heavy weights all the time. And if say my elbow's tweaked or my wrist or something like that, I can't do the things I want to do. So it definitely hampers what I can do to train to win my title back. So yeah, it's a lot of play, and not let alone going into the tournament. You're injured, obviously. You're not going to be competing at 100% either. So it works both ways there.
Yeah. Do you think it's more mental or physical when you're thinking about that injury?
It's definitely a lot mental too, absolutely, because you're afraid to do certain things at the table and training. So it's definitely both.
Yeah, for sure.
You have a lot of experience with that too, Dave. I mean, I don't know how many people realize that you broke your right arm somewhat early on when you joined the sport, and that must have been tough to come back with. Learning to trust that arm again and everything, especially at your level.
Yeah, that was 100% mental. When I broke my arm, I started arm wrestling in November of 2006. Broke my arm February of 2007 in my second tournament. It took about a year. The doctor told me not to arm wrestle for a year. I didn't have surgery, but he told me not to do anything with it for a year, so I didn't. But I still trained. I trained my wrist and hand with certain, contraptions, and that's when that's when I started, training everything towards arm wrestling. I used to be, really big into powerlifting, not competitive, but I was just, I would bench press and squat and do all kinds of stuff like that. Whereas when I broke the arm, I realized, things have to change if I'm going to be, the arm wrestler I want to be. And it took probably 2 years after that. It was always in the back of my mind. I get in a certain position. It's a little scary actually. You break your arm, you're thinking, I don't want to be in this position. But really, after 2 years, it went away. I stopped thinking about it, and then I was on my way.
So, was your left hand always less dominant, or was there a period of time where you were more equivalent both sides?
My right arm was always dominant, but I'd say my left started to go downhill in 2009. ROTN was a big tournament back then. I remember my first match, I pulled Ron Bath. I beat him left-handed. I ended up taking like 6 or something like that, but it was a huge tournament. And I remember pulling after that, and I was, I pulled for an hour, and that pretty much ruined my arm for about 2 years, my left arm. It was just tendonitis, and it would not go away. And then it finally healed up. I was able to train, started getting better, and then bam, it happened again. Same thing, tendonitis. And it took about 2 years to recover. It just, I don't know why my left arm will not, I can do anything I want with my right arm over and over and over again, no matter what, and I'm fine. But that left, it just does not heal like my right.
That is really strange.
Yeah,
I remember that old, that was Gary Roberts, Arm TV, ROTN. Those were really cool.
That was an awesome tournament, man. Everybody was there. I mean, that heavyweight class, it was like Travis, Ron Bath, Berzink, Nick Zena, Tom Nelson, Don Underwood, myself. I wasn't, what I am now back then, but I was an up-and-comer. But it was a ridiculously stacked arm wrestling, class, and every class was like that. So
yeah, I remember that being a 198 and over.
Yes, yeah. I think there was only 3 weight classes.
Right. Yeah, it was like the old Yukon Jacks. It was 65, 98s, and then heavies. It was
Vigent
was in that class too.
He was, yeah, actually, yeah. He actually beat me that day. I remember. Then I ended up pulling him a year later and beat him in a super match. I remember that, yeah.
In Erie, right? You pulled him in
In Erie.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came to Erie a year later, and we arm wrestled best out of 5, I believe. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
when
Rob.
did you? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Rob's a competitor. You gotta love him. He brings everything to the table. He's fun to watch. So
Oh yeah, big
That's
time.
true. When did you first realize, Dave, that you had a chance at being one of the very best in the country, if not the world?
well, after I broke my arm, I didn't realize it, but I dedicated myself, and you start seeing results. I would win. Won my first couple of tournaments after. I won like the Kentucky Muscle. You start working your way up. I think I took a couple other decent tournaments, and then when I actually I won nationals in 2010, both arms, and that's when in 2010 I won the WAF world title, and that's kind of when I realized, wow, I can really be pretty awesome in the sport. There's no one expected. It's just Americans, they don't win that ever.
No, they don't.
So when I won it, no one expected to win it, and expected me to win it, which was just pretty amazing. It was a pretty awesome experience, actually.
Yeah, and
Probably my biggest win ever, actually. Still, today.
and that was
Oh, yeah.
actually a world title at 242, correct?
242, yeah. I used to walk around probably 260 back then. I would cut down to 242.
Yeah.
Not fun. I did not like doing it. I'm glad I don't do it.
Yeah, I can't remember what nationals I was at, or maybe it wasn't. I don't remember. It was one of those tournaments, and I remember all the Erie guys in the sauna.
Yeah, I'm sure I was with them. It's no fun, and I'm glad I'm eating cheeseburgers while they're in the sauna still.
Yeah.
I remember very well going, ooh, I already had made weight, and I'm like, oh, that's rough.
Yeah, all of us too, like me, Bart, Jim Wagner. We all the same thing. We in the car we spitting in the sauna suits and just miserable. Like I remember, I have some bad experiences cutting weight. In 2009, nationals were in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it was probably 110 degrees outside, and I'm in a garbage bag doing laps around the pool. Not drinking anything or eating anything, like a stupid nitwit like myself. And the next thing you know, I'm pretty much passing out at the pool. And luckily, I'm sliding right under my garbage bag. Luckily, Jim Wagner was there to catch me. Otherwise, I could have hit my head on the concrete. It's just
Yeah.
crazy accidents like that happen. You don't realize that. That was cutting down to 220 for that one, which was a little way too much for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I
It's
remember,
tough.
that class, I think Frank Hurst was in that class that day, and there was a
Yeah.
couple other, I think Eric Brown, this guy who kind of came and then just disappeared,
Yeah,
who was a
yeah.
tank.
Eric and I had a really, really long match, tough match. He beat me, and then I pulled Frank right after, and Frank beat me that day too. It was, yeah, it wasn't my day for sure.
Well, that's kind of the interesting thing of you've always been strong, but with time and experience, you've kind of learned how to. You've made mistakes that you've acknowledged, and you're going, well, I'm not going to make those mistakes anymore. So hopefully,
Absolutely, and one of those is not cutting to 220. Definitely not too big for that. I like to eat too much. But yeah, since then it's been on the upswing. I won the worlds in 2010, won the Arnolds in 2013, Mike Gould in 2013. Then went over to Zloty and beat Dennis that one match, which pretty much put me on the map over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the game of arms, everything blew up after that. WAL has taken off. It's been a nice run. Hopefully we can continue with everything. This is an awesome time for arm wrestling.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. It's an awesome time for arm wrestling, even just with all everybody's thinking. Everybody's thinking of what's coming, what's gonna, they're thinking of new ways to do everything. I think it's awesome right now.
It is.
I like what you said, Dave, about the world title being the one that you're still most proud of. Do you think that not enough American pullers take it seriously? A few people have talked about that they wish more big guys from here would go over there at least once to try it out.
Yeah, I'm sure it's all about the money. You really don't want to. You put all the time in and effort, and to go to Worlds, it costs probably $2,000, at least to go over to a different country to compete with a flight and the hotel, and you don't get anything in return. Whereas, like if for the WAL, you go to Vegas and you qualify to go to Vegas, you pay a few $100 for the flight, a few $100 for the hotel, and I can win 10 grand in a couple of weeks. So
Right.
Yeah, that's the difference for me. If they were paying, obviously I would definitely do it again. It's an awesome experience, but I just can't justify. I have a son now. I can't justify spending all this money and not getting anything in return.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my opinion, that's where sponsorships are going to step in at some point.
Yeah.
Nike's going to have an arm warmer, or whatever, and they're going to sponsor people. And if you win for their company, they're going to it's like how the Olympics kind of is, where maybe our country doesn't pay us, but sponsorships. Powerlifting's a lot like that too.
Yeah, that'd be huge if that happened. It'd be awesome if that happened, actually.
And I think with enough TV exposure, WAL, PAL, whoever, I think somebody eventually will see something and kind of understand that there's a place for them.
Let's hope so.
And honestly, a pretty cheap place, because I think it wouldn't take a whole lot to make a bunch of people happy. So I think
pay my flight, pay my hotel. That's it.
Yeah, right. I think a supplement company or a sports apparel company could make a pretty good killing off of very little investment on the sport.
Yeah. You're correct on that part. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Dave Shea just chimed in with a very serious question for you.
I'm not answering any of Dave Shea's questions, so you can go ahead.
I think that you may be interested in hearing this one. He wants to know if you feel like you get more power from sushi and seaweed salad or from cheeseburgers and French fries.
That's a good question.
This probably has something to do with the comments I made on Facebook earlier today about the nonsense he was eating some sushi. He's not going to go to the WL in a couple of weeks and win eating sushi, whether Devin Laird tells him or not. He's going to have to get on cheeseburgers and pizza. So there's your answer, Dave.
I can't agree more.
So you haven't lost a single match right-handed since the WAL started, and obviously we saw in Game of Arms you smoked everybody on there too. Hopefully someday we'll get to see what happened in the part of season 2 that they filmed. I keep hoping they're gonna do an extended DVD release so we get to see some of that stuff. But who do you think? I mean, is there someone that you really have your eyes on that you're more worried about than other people right now, right-handed in the United States, or even people coming from Europe in the WAL?
Well, Travis always gives me a tough match. He's a tough matcher for me. I mean, he gets in the straps. He's tricky. Oh, yeah. He gets that space, and he gets my hand. So I don't know what he does, but he gets it busted back. I still beat him, with my hand busted back, but most of the time. But I don't know what he does, but something about his style just drives me nuts. So he's always number one on the list. Nick Zena's tough.
Yeah.
Jerry's always tough. And then if European guys, of course, I would love to pull Trubin sometime. Dennis again someday. Pushkar, all those guys I'd love to pull. Hopefully someday we can get a PAL versus WAL or something like that going on. That'd be pretty awesome.
Do you think the WL will eventually end up inviting those countries, where Russia and the Ukraine and where those guys live?
It would be nice if they did. I don't know how that would work. I don't know how the PAL has them under contract, or I really don't know what they'd have to negotiate or what. But it'd be pretty cool to have them over here, the best of the best.
Yeah, I agree.
I'd like to see the best of you and the best of Pushkar again. Because I'm sure you would too. Because I think I think that your styles together, it's a train wreck. I mean, you guys kind of do pull that same, kind of just flat hand sideways. That's the goal for both of you. So I really do think the best of you two in a 6-round match would be really interesting.
Yeah, if I could stop that hit of his, I think I win the match. But I can't stop the hit. He's gonna go right through me. That's the only thing. But I think I know what to do now. I pulled him, in Russia. He kicked my ass. It was a learning experience. I look forward to pulling him again sometime, and it'll be a different way. I'll be pulling him differently. It'll be a different outcome, I believe.
I think it will too, because I'm sure you've noticed this, and people talk about it frequently, that a lot of people tend to lay down for Pushkar or Siplinkov when they're over there, and we see it on the videos, and it's irritating to us because we're kind of hoping for a more equalized match in the finals when you guys finally meet. So I think Supermat format would be. With you guys starting off in equal footing and both uninjured, I think you're right. If you could stop his hit, I think he'd be yours.
Yeah, that the A1 format over there is brutal. I mean, you say, let's take, for example, you got 32 guys. They break it up into 4 brackets, 8 guys in each bracket. And then you pull your bracket. You say you win. Then you go down, the top two from each four brackets go to the final eight. Then you pull the best out of three the first round, best out of five the second round, and then a best out of five in the finals. I mean, it's just a rough format. And the competition. It's not like you're pulling nobodies. You're pulling some of the best guys in the world. So you pull one guy, one of the tough guys. You get a tough match in the first round. It wears you out. It's tough to come back.
And how much does that change your viewpoint? Also, going over there, and like you said, it was a learning experience, but when you pull somebody and you maybe have an idea of how they're going to feel, what direction they're going to go, and then maybe they don't do exactly what you thought, how much is that, how enlightening is that as far as like changing your game plan for next time?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's huge. You sometimes you get up to the table and you think, this guy feels great. You know exactly what you're going to do. And next thing you know, you're pinned to the pad and it's over. And you're thinking, what just happened? And then you go back to the drawing board and you think through your head, I got to do this, got to do that, another thing, and then you train those things, and you come back and you win next time. That's exactly what you got to do.
Yeah, I think that's an intelligent viewpoint on it because you talk about thinking. I think most thinking happens, for me anyway, off the table. When it comes to competing, oftentimes it's just your head's almost clear, because you got to be ready for the go and everything. But all that thinking happens off the table so that you can prepare your body. You can prepare your second nature to basically attack when it's needed, right? Because that's what we do. That's what we do. I mean, I compare it to like putting your hand on a stove. You don't have to think to take it off, right? It's the same thing when the ref says go. Arm wrestlers don't need to think, okay, I need to go now.
Yeah, you just do. You're right. I do all my thinking beforehand, like for the past week and for the next 2 weeks. I mean, when I'm sitting here, I'm sitting at my job, I'm going through my head how I'm going to pull every single competitor in Vegas. I know exactly what I'm going to do from the start. I just close my eyes and I'm just visualize. And people probably look at me like I'm crazy because I'm sitting there just, with my eyes closed, but that's what I do. It works for me.
Well, that's actually, that's a technique that elite athletes use in all kinds of sports. It's something I think more people should utilize because it really does work. There's a reason why people like you and people at the top of other sports do it. It's a legitimate practice. I think that, I don't know, I think a lot of us, people who are novices compared to people at your level, we don't do that kind of stuff enough. Sometimes we get up there, and like John is also, he's a tactician, so he does more thinking than the average person does too. I think that's something that the rest of us need to do more of.
Yes.
Yeah, that mind-body connection is for real.
So I got some questions for you, Dave, coming in from people. This one is from Joseph Pagani, who I've pulled. He's actually from Connecticut. He wants to know if there was one thing you could change about the sport of arm wrestling, what would it be?
The one thing I could change, well, if we had a lot, like John was talking earlier, sponsorship. If we could get sponsorship to get people to be able to travel to different events, that'd probably be the biggest thing. And that maybe pulling next year or 2, 3 years, whatever it takes to pull all the arm wrestlers together into one big league. That would be pretty awesome.
How cool would that be, man?
Yeah, that would be unbelievable.
I would love to see that.
Joseph and I were talking earlier this week, and we put an article up a couple weeks ago, Dave, about the fact that all of us arm wrestlers wish that there was a single unified national championship. Maybe someday it could be connected to PAL or WAL or something like that, where, there was one qualifier for Worlds and one legitimate national title. I think if it was connected with WAL and maybe we got all the people that are involved in the 3 nationals we have now doing it together, maybe it could reach the level they have 800-900 people show up for the Russian nationals. And I feel like the quality of pullers we have here in this country of 310 million is at least as good. I think I would like to see that. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I agree. I think we should have one nationals. I've always thought that. Even when I first got into sport, I'm talking to people. Yeah, there's 3 nationals, and I'm thinking, what? It just doesn't make any sense to me to have 3 nationals. Everybody, you want it to be, the national title. You want it to be the most prestigious title in the country you can win. And there's 3 of them. And say you got some people going to this one, some people going to that one. Some people go into that one. The stuff, not to take any, titles away from anybody, but the stuff, it can be watered down sometimes. That's
absolutely
unfortunate. So, and even some of the national titles I've won, there hasn't been a great showing, but I have a national title to show for it. It is what it is.
Right. Yeah, you can't buy people's plane ticket to show up, but more people would show up if there was a plannable once-a-year event, I think.
I agree, yes.
Especially if you had it in the same season all the time. Because there's tournaments, like, say in Connecticut for a long time there was the Fall Classic, right? Every fall there was this huge tournament, and it was bigger than most state tournaments you'll ever go to. But it wasn't
Is that the one where Mike Solaris pulled like 8 classes one time? I think. Was that one?
Yep.
I used to love watching that on ARM TV. Yeah, that's people crazy turnout for those.
Yeah, we'd have a 176-pound class with 18 people in it.
That's crazy.
I mean, just good talent, really good wars all day, nice good tournaments, and it was plannable. It was once a year, in the same time period, so everybody knew the Fall Classic's coming this year.
Yeah, everybody would plan for it.
Yeah, and that's how nationals could be, and I think it would be phenomenal. I think we'd have 40 people in a class.
It'd be a step in the right direction to do something like that.
Definitely, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Joseph had another idea that went along with that of having a single state tournament that was also unified, and that if you place in the top 3 in your state tournament in your class, then you would qualify for nationals rather than just having it. Whoever shows up, which I also think is a good idea. It would take more planning, but it would be nice to see that kind of stuff happen down the road.
Yeah, definitely. You're right. It would take a ton more planning, but you get the right amount of people per each state doing it. It could work. It would take a lot more. Yeah.
So I'm sure you're not surprised by this, Dave, but I got a crap load of training questions coming in. I'm trying to filter them out and ask them in some kind of intelligent format. First of all, there's a couple people asking about your training in general, and I know you've been very generous with me because you've sent me stuff on Facebook before we even met, basically describing what your training looks like week to week. And I got people, Herman Stevens and other guys are asking about that. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little, and there's a few specific questions that if you don't answer, I will ask you afterwards.
Sure. I train pretty much almost every day of the week, except I'll usually take Saturdays off. I'll walk you through everything basically. Monday, I'll go to the gym and do biceps. I'll do the one-arm preacher machine, and I'll do rope curls, and then just the cable crossover curls. I do basic 3 to 4 sets of each, but then I do a lot of holds. I'll hold at the end of every set. I'll do a hold, and I just do biceps on Monday. Tuesday, I'll do back, but the only thing I do for back is I'll take the cable crossover handles, I'll take 2 of them, and I'll put them on the lat pull down machine, and I'm just doing down pressure, just like this, like a cup, just like this, straight down, like that. And I'll hold. I'll do probably 6 to 8 reps, and I go up in weight each time, and the reps go down to like 2 at the last set. And then the next exercise I'll do for back is seated rows. Same thing. I take the 2 cable crossover handles, attach them to it just so I have a fat grip, cup it like this, and just like this. And then usually at the end I'll just kind of go like that. And that's all I do on Wednesday or Tuesday is back. That's it. And then Wednesday, I do 1 exercise for chest. It's just a pec deck machine, 1 arm, just going like this. I do 4 sets. And I do triceps also with chest on Wednesday. I just do a regular rope push down and the cable push down. Thursday I do this bicep workout again, and Friday I do the back. But also at home on Tuesdays and Fridays, I have this thing here. I put weight on it. It's a fat grip. I got weight on the end here. I just sit here in my chair and I do these rotational exercises just like this. Like that. I do 4 to 5 sets of that with probably 45 pounds on it, just a few reps, 3 to 4 reps.
That's a lot of weight.
Yeah. I don't go all the way down with that kind of weight, just like that.
Yeah.
I have a sledgehammer back there. I also do Tuesdays and Fridays. Just wrist kickbacks and wrist forward raises. I stand up and do these with the sledgehammer and reverse ones. And also at the gym at the prison on Mondays and Thursdays, I set up on the cable crossover. You got the side here. I do side pressure. I just hook it up like this, a lot of weight, and I'm doing these. and then I'll take a rope, same level, and I'll bust or hit like a hook like that,
Okay.
working my wrist. And then the next exercise is a row this way for a top row.
Okay.
I do all those twice a week. So I'm doing a ton of stuff on different days. I'll take Saturday off, and then Sunday I train on the table once a week. Every Sunday we train. Except for this week it's Saturday because Todd Hutchings is coming to town, so we're gonna have a little picnic
Oh, awesome.
and pull on Saturday. So I'll be pulling Saturday and taking Sunday off this week. But yeah, I'm training. I train a ton. So yeah.
Let me ask you, you said you were into powerlifting before. How much of your powerlifting knowledge is kind of transferred over to arm wrestling training?
Well, I wouldn't say I was into powerlifting. I just did like powerlifting lifts.
Okay.
I never competed or anything like that, but I was always bench pressing, the basic shoulders. We did a ton of shoulders, a lot of chest, bench press. I was that guy that would go and do bench press, first thing, and to go and do bench press. And I haven't bench pressed since I broke my arm. The day I broke my arm, I was done. And I was benching almost 500 pounds when I quit. I probably couldn't bench 300 now, I'm guessing, because I haven't stepped. That's funny, yeah. So,
Yeah.
But I don't really, like I said, I didn't compete, so my knowledge isn't that great. But I've just by watching arm wrestling and learning what I have to do with different things and getting different contraptions. I've worked all these into my workout routine, and it's helped me greatly.
Yeah, I think it's a good lesson to any level you're at to become a student of the game. Really take everything anything you see, try it. And if it doesn't work, then don't use it. But if it works, then keep it, because there's things that people will, at the highest level, will tell you to do, and it doesn't work for you.
No,
just
absolutely. I haven't been doing all these things since I started. I've added things through the years. I started with that long contraption I had. I mean, this is one of the first things I bought when I broke my arm, working my hand and wrist. I still do it, but I added the sledgehammer probably the year after. The stuff I do at the prison with the ropes, I've been doing that for about 2 to 3 years. So, and there'll be more stuff through the years that I'll add on that I see, I like this and this can work for me. I'll try it. If I don't like it, I'm going to, I'll scratch it. If not, I'll keep doing it. So you're always evolving, in the game. You got to stay in the game to be the best. You got to keep up with everybody. So
yeah, it's the funny that funny feeling of always looking back. Oh man, if I would have known that 2 years ago.
yeah.
So what level of importance do you give to table time itself, Dave? I mean, how often are you doing on an average month? How many times are you on a table practicing?
Every Sunday. So 4 or 5 Sundays a month, how many Sundays there are in a month.
Yep.
Every week, I don't miss a week unless it's the week before a tournament or a tournament when I'm pulling. And the only times I really usually miss a practice. I think table time is very important. It's huge because you obviously you want to practice everything. That's where you learn. But even going to other places to practice, going to other tournaments is even more important. Getting that experience with different hands and different people is pretty huge. Like the guys I train with, they've been great with me. It's kind of hard because trying to find somebody to train at my level is very difficult around here. But they'll yank on me with 2 arms as hard as they can, and that's when I actually get my work in. And I really appreciate them letting me do that because if I'm not going to get any work pulling anybody with 1 arm around here. It's just unfortunate, but the guys have really, really helped me with that. It's huge.
Yeah, the importance of good training partners is huge. Because I used to train with Tim Bresnan. I trained in Team Dungeon for 7 years. And people still always ask me, well, how did you guys, because it was me, Klumba, and later on, like the Rhode Island guys, Max Maxwell, and those guys kind of joined along. But for a long time, it was me, Klumba, Tim's son, and sometimes Frank Hurst, and they were like, well, how do you give Tim how's he getting to work? And it was like, well, we have things like the equalizer strap that goes around your upper arm to stop him, or 2 hands. Like, you just have to be a good training partner. And you have to sometimes go, it might not feel good to pull a guy with 2 hands and get pinned, but that's being a good training partner, right? So when they goes and Pete Favoda, you go, well, at least I helped a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we do with Jerry up here in Massachusetts. Same thing, the equalizer straps. And after the 7 or 8 matches with him with those straps, he's like knocked down a few so that we can start like 6 or 7 of us will go up against him one by one, and he actually is human at that point. But
Finally try to wear them out. Yeah.
exactly, you got no choice. I got another question, Dave, about what was your sports background before arm wrestling?
Um, Growing up as a young kid, I played baseball, football, and basketball. High school, I played football and baseball, and after that, yeah, that was it. I played some intramural sports in college, but yeah, football and baseball basically were my two sports.
That makes sense. You seem to have the right physique for football specifically, or maybe batting number four in baseball. Clean up,
Yeah, I
right?
was a decent power hitter. I struck
Sure.
out too much, but I was a decent power hitter.
So basically, from the start, you've always been power based. You've always had, did you always have natural strength
Yeah,
growing up?
I was
And
always a decent sized kid growing up. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, because that's one thing. Like, for me, I started the sport. I had the exact opposite experience. I was very, very weak, but I picked up on the technical side of the sport very quick. But the power really, it took a lot of work to get any kind of power. And I always saw people start from the opposite end. And I was just like, if I had
Yeah.
your power when I started, I've been so happy. That kind of thing.
I'm the exact opposite. I was very powerful and horrible at learning techniques and stuff. Probably took me a year to learn how to top roll. I mean, over and over again. It's just like, yeah, finally I got it. But still, it's just I'm still more power based than technique. That's for sure.
Would you say that your technique is more top roll or more hook, side pressure? Because it really seems to me like you just basically just get tight and go sideways.
It's side and back. I use my hand to hook basically. I'll try to go through their hand as best I can because I have a really strong hand and wrist as well.
Right.
So it's I don't rip low for a hook unless I'm pulling someone that I need to pull to hook low. But other than that, I'm trying to stay high and I'll hook high and try to go through their hand basically is my main move. And a lot of back pressure. I like to use back pressure when in certain situations too.
Yeah, I had heard rumors maybe a few years ago that you used to do one arm pull ups.
I used to be able to do them. Yeah, when I weighed
Wow.
when I was 245, 250. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah, that's super impressive. I'm not sure if you know, but most people can't do that.
I'm
Yeah,
trying
I
to think
can't-
if I've ever seen anybody of that weight do a one arm pull up.
I
I don't
wouldn't
think
want
I
to try
have.
now. I'm about 275 now. I haven't tried. I'd probably blow my shoulder out. It's been a long time. I used to do a lot of pull-ups, probably five,
Yeah.
6 years ago. I used to do fat grip pull-ups and do a lot of one arms. And I kind of, for some reason, I got away from it. I would definitely recommend that to everybody. They're a great exercise. For some reason, I just got away from it over the years.
Yeah, not last week. It was 2 days ago. We talked to Todd Hutchings, and I basically brought up because I know a little bit about powerlifting and programming for that, and he uses an old method called, well, not an old method, but tried and true method called the Westside Barbell Conjugate method for training. And he's like, yeah, I basically just took it. That's what I did. And I actually did something similar for a few years. I did weighted pull-ups 3-4 times a week. And I thought they were I just think they're phenomenal for building a good foundation for arm wrestling, right? That good, just keeping your lat nice and tight,
Yeah.
keeping your arm on your body. And, I think that's phenomenal for it. And I actually used an old Russian squat program, and I just put it into pull-ups, and I tried that. And, yeah, I think especially for new people, I think weighted pull-ups is phenomenal for building that good foundation for,
Yeah, I
solid.
100% agree. I used to do them all the time, and then I think in one of my divorces I lost my pull up thing, so I just kind of disappeared, and that was it. So
He was like, I guess I'll just switch to the
See, that
sledgehammer.
hurts, man. I'll take the house, but not my pull up machine, man.
you know,
So I got this gentleman, Austin Slater, who's curious why you don't do more wrist flexion work.
wrist flexion. I don't even know what wrist flexion is.
I guess he's talking about. I mean, like you're using the. I have one of those too, the little Thor hammer, whatever you call it. But I guess a lot of people do more exercises, negative, eccentric ones with the bent wrist and that kind of stuff, and bringing it back. I mean, Devin was talking about some things that
Yeah,
he
I'm
does
guessing
like
more
that.
like,
I got you. Yeah, I just never did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can give my opinion on it. I mean, not that it means a whole ton, but like for me, I never got a whole lot out of grabbing a weight and wrist curling it in,
Mm-hmm.
but I did get a lot out of kind of starting halfway in and then trying to pull it with my wrist,
Yeah.
and not with my
Yeah,
fingers.
when I'm doing those seated rows, I'm like this. I mean, I'm not like this or anything like that. I get around the handles, and I am just like that. I mean, so it's something like that, I suppose, that's in my work I just don't know about.
Yeah, I think because when I used to do weighted pull-ups on fat grips, I would start like this. I would start with my wrist in, and then as you get on a lot of weight, you pull down, and your wrist kind of halfway straightens out as the weight gets high. I think that's the best wrist workout you can get, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get to a position and not lose your position.
Right.
You know, so I don't think
You're strong right here, obviously, is where you want to be. So.
Yeah, I don't think grabbing a weight and doing this a bunch of times is really like all that beneficial. Maybe for recovery, but for strength, I don't know.
Yeah, I've never tried it, so I don't know. So I really can't. I can't make it a bet.
I don't think there's too many people that take your hand, Dave. I don't think that's really ever been a weak area for you compared to most mortals. So that might be part of it.
Like Travis can in the straps because he does some nonsense. Hoping to change that this year. I'm gonna try something a little different when I pull him, hopefully. So we'll see what happens. But usually my hand's good. So
yeah. So lefty again. I know we talked about it a little bit, but I mean, you look pretty good this year. I mean, I was impressed. I mean, do you think you can catch up to a couple of those guys?
If
Sean Latimer?
If it can stay healthy,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's the thing, though. Like I pull. That's the first time I pulled since the last year's regionals left-handed. I haven't done nothing with it. I couldn't train from last year's regionals probably for 6-7 months. I've probably been training, maybe 5 months with my left. I just started off with lighter weight because I had to get that tendonitis over and over again.
Right.
So I started off working out with a lighter weight, and I'm able to get on the table here and there, until finally every couple weeks, and finally I can do it once a week. I'm not going to pull left-handed in Vegas this year because it's not right, and I'm going to be honest with you, after I got done pulling left-handed, I was exhausted starting the right-hand tournament in the regionals, so I'm not going to waste any energy going into, to defend my title this year, that's for sure.
Do you think that they should use a seeding system of the WLs? I mean, especially the finals?
Absolutely. I think they should do a seeding. I think any other sport, they see the top guys. Look at the NCAA tournament, football, anything. They see the tournament, and I don't see why they wouldn't seed. Give your top guys the best chance to get to the finals. You're not going to put Duke versus North Carolina in the first round of the NCAA tournament when they're number 1 and number 2 in the nation. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense to me to put the top 2 guys, against each other in the first match.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that. A lot of people were talking about the finals last year and how the top 4 looked like they didn't feel that that was representative of what the top 4 would have been. You on top, and Jerry and Nick Zena, and I can't remember everybody else was on it, but it definitely didn't look like how we would have expected it to go had it been seeded.
Well, they changed the brackets the next day. You probably don't know about this, but the bracket was set on Saturday. We all looked at it. My side was me on top, and then I think it was Jerry and Matt Gardner on the bottom of my side.
Mm-hmm.
The next day they changed it. It was me on top, and then me and Jerry on top. So we fought each other the second match. Travis on the bottom over here. It was quite ridiculous, to be honest with you.
That's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, wasn't right. I was a little fired up when they changed it because it was really unfair. So.
Yeah, because you guys burned there's no way that you can go up against these other gigantic powerhouses and not have it drain you. And you can end up having someone who really is not legitimately as strong as you guys end up winning as a result.
Yeah, I could totally change the outcome. I mean, me and Travis had a war.
Right.
After that match, luckily I got a break. Mm-hmm. If I had to pull somebody right after, I could have easily lost. It's just you're pumped up and you're tired, and that's just the name of the game. You go in a tournament and then you got to deal with it.
Yeah, in my opinion, that's the biggest downfall of tournaments is that people make the argument you call these guys back every month and you'll get different outcomes every month, and that's kind of the difficulty of it, right? And I think there's got to be a better way to have all these guys come together and be able to pull and have a real good test. and I'm not sure what that is. I mean, we talked about it last show, that maybe having it almost like a NFL or NBA season where every week or every 2 weeks you have one match with every weight class. And then you kind of, it's like having a basketball game or a football game, and then the 2 weeks from there, there's a whole new match. So it's kind of like a one-on-one meets a tournament, but then there could be an off season, there could be an on season. Like it could actually be like like how sports really is.
The outcomes could definitely be different. That's for sure. With you have one-on-one, and you got rest. Whereas in a tournament, you get no rest. I mean, you could be going a minute later, and you get a minute, the other guy beats you. Unless you got an hour to rest, you beat him. You know what I mean? If you're pumped up, it changes the game.
Oh yeah, you see every top guy that's gone from tournament pulling to a 6th round, and every one of them, even if they're successful or not, they come back and go, that's a whole different game.
Yeah.
That's because there's one guy across from you, and some guys eat it up, right? Some guys sit there for a minute in the center of the table, and then they come back up and they're fresh still. Devin's a great example of that with him and Pushkar.
Devin's amazing at that. That's his game right there. I don't know how he does it, where he gets his endurance from. It's crazy. I'd love to have that kind of endurance.
Well, he pulls on the table 4 or 5 times a week. So his table endurance is ridiculous as a result. And that doesn't work for him. I don't know. Some people it just does not work for. I mean, Brzezinski, he pulls once a week, if that. It's just incredible how different the sport is for different people.
I can't pull more than once a week. I'm sore from pulling for probably 3, 4, 5 days, and I mean, I could not pull 2 days later. It just doesn't work for me. I don't know how those guys do it.
Yeah, I don't know. What about the rules in general for the WL? There's a lot of controversy going around about different aspects of it, or the consistency, that kind of stuff. I mean, you've seen as much of it as anybody else. I mean, do you have a problem with the rules? Do you like them, or do you feel like they're getting more consistent? Or I mean, is there anything you would change about it if you could?
I like the rules really. They're not going to call every single little elbow foul unless it means something. I really like the elbow pad is a lot bigger now. It gives you more real estate in the back. I'm not going to complain about that. You just adjust. I mean, everybody adjusts. If the rules were different, if the pads are smaller, you have to adjust to whatever the rules are. I'm not going to sit there and complain about them or say they're great. I just go with the flow, and I'm going to win either way. If the pad's big, the pad's small, that's my goal, is to win. So,
we've asked that question of a bunch of you guys at the top of your various weight classes, and you've all said the same thing. Like all this stuff, the crybabying stuff that we see on Facebook, which goes on every single day, it's mostly coming from people that are not at the top. So it's people who are not in the top 4 positions who have an issue with it. Every single one of you guys we've asked have said the same thing. With the rules are the rules, you adjust to it, you do the best you can, as long as you know what they are, in advance, and they're being called consistently. That's all you ask. So I mean, I think it's a good lesson for everybody else.
As long as they're consistent, that is all you can ask for. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, I like that, and also, I mean, another thing that I like about you, Dave, is when we were at that Gillette thing at Gillette Stadium, the Monster WL thing, when you and Jerry were pulling, basically all day in between, whenever you guys got breaks from taking on all comers. I just like that you guys, were up there with no ego. You were trying all different kinds of stuff. Like Jerry kept trying to top roll you, and you were playing left-handed and right-handed. It was just fun to watch because, everybody's looking at you, and it's like, it didn't seem to me that either of you guys cared who was winning or losing, but you were just, generally grateful that you had the ability to practice with one another.
That's what it was. I don't get chances to practice with somebody of Jerry's caliber ever. So to be up there and to be able to arm wrestle him for as long as I did, and we went at it, I can't even imagine how long it was. I couldn't feel my arm at the end of the day. It was fun. I had a great time pulling him. I would love to have Jerry to pull all the time. It'd be great for both of us.
Yeah.
It was a good time. You don't care. You set your egos aside. You have fun. You're trying to learn and get better, and that's the name of the game.
Well, see, that's interesting because when we had Travis on a few weeks back, he said he doesn't like pulling in practice because after however many minutes goes by, everybody starts beating him, and he feels like it hurts his ego, and it messes up his self-confidence. So he doesn't like to pull in practice at all.
It certainly doesn't mess my self-confidence up. I know after pulling for so long, I'm going to get tired. I'm going to start losing. It's going to be a different story in a tournament. You know, I like to have fun. I like to learn things and just try to get better. Not worried about anything else. That's for sure. So,
Yeah, I know at the dungeon we used to in practice, we would do ready goes at the end of the practice. One, to keep each other safe because you're already dead. You're probably not going to hurt each other because you're all tired. And two, you got really used to setting up and being fair when you were dead tired. So you get to a tournament and you're doing that, and you're just like, I feel so good right now. You know, it was just a great confidence booster. So I think, you know, the idea of, listen, at the end of the practice, I'm going to be beat up. That's the goal. Like, and I also think that training in a way to kind of know how to dig yourself out of a bad position is super important because you're going to get put there.
Yeah.
Someone's going to do it.
Yeah, it happens. It happens to everybody.
Yeah,
so.
Unfortunately. So there's always that one guy who has the style who's going to put you there, you know?
Yep.
So if you could pull one of these big three guys, Cyplenkov, Pushkar, Trubin, do you have a preference on who you'd like to take on first?
I'd love to pull Trubin. I think his style would be tough for me. He's got a strong top roll. I think I can stop it, get him in the straps, and he's just a monster. I was watching him the other day with those curls, and the way he looks, the way he carries himself, he seems like a real class act, and I really would love to pull him on the table.
Yeah. Do you have a prediction for he and Pushkar as a match next month?
I think he will beat Pushkar. I don't think it's not going to be easy. I'm thinking 4-2. I think it's going to be a really good match, but I could definitely see Pushkar beating him. He's going to come in, not like he did in Zloty, thinking he's going to kill everybody. He's going to come in with a different attitude, I think. So I could definitely go either way.
Yeah, I could definitely see like Pushkar winning early on. I could see that going like one wins one wins the other, back and forth. I really could see that because I can't believe, because I was thinking about this the other night because we were talking about it with Todd. I can't believe how people forget so quickly how strong Pushkar is.
Yeah, he's strong because you don't hear about him right now. It's all Trubin.
Right.
He's the flavor of the month right now. But 6-8 months ago, a year ago, it was all Pushkar. All you heard about was Pushkar. That's the way it is. But yeah, he's going to step up his game, and he could definitely take it.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, it's a shame to think for anybody to sit back and think that Pushkar isn't, one of the strongest guys on this planet as far as this game goes. That guy is ridiculously strong, and I don't think people are saying, oh, he's going to get killed. I don't think so.
He won't get killed against anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
Exactly.
I agree. I've actually been surprised at how many people have said it's going to be 6-0 for Trubin. I do think that Trubin will figure it out, but Pushkar right off the bat is going to be so fast and so strong. It's tough for anybody.
That hit. That's his bread and butter is that hit. So see how it goes.
Yeah, he knows what his technique is, and he's got it down, man. I mean, he's not somebody that you see a lot of technique from, and most of the time. And I don't know if that's just because people haven't challenged him so much lately, but he's one of the world's best at that power hit. What about Mike Todd and Cyplenkov? Any idea how that one's going to go?
I don't. Dennis hasn't pulled 2 years.
Right.
He could be very rusty. I don't know. You don't know what he's doing.
Yep.
He has a good coach. That Mike's going to come in fired up because he lost against Trubin.
Right.
That one I think could go either way. If Dennis can figure out Mike's arm, pinning that arm, he could beat him easily. That's the thing, though. Dennis, you got to kind of get that press in. Dennis never presses really, so I don't know how he's going to beat him. We'll see though. He can definitely do it. That's another one. It's a toss up, but we'll see. I don't even want to pick a winner in that one. I don't know.
Yeah, that one's tough. I mean, that one's really tough to predict. It's just because there's so many unknowns. As you said, he hasn't pulled in 2 years, and Mike's technique is so unusual. Not that many people are used to it or can even deal with it. Certainly not as well as Trubin did. What about you? I mean, you've a little unfinished business with Mike too. I mean, that was a few years back, but is he the last guy to get a win on you right-handed?
In North America, yeah, back in 2013. Yep. I'd pull Mike a little differently. I've watched many of his matches. Watched how John beat him, how Trubin beat him. I'm a lot stronger than I was in 2013. I think it'd be a little different. Like I said, just pinning that arm, like you go right through him, you don't feel him from the start. It's boom, and it's just getting him, pinning him, that much.
Yeah.
It's tough. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, the
So,
70,
know
the
what he's
76 has been dealing with that forever with Crazy George.
no,
Now
it's unbelievable, isn't it?
yeah, now there's just a giant version of him. So,
100 pounds heavier, yeah.
yeah, that's unbelievable.
Do you feel like you're still increasing in strength, Dave? Like year to year, are you still making incremental changes? I mean, increases.
Yeah, I'm definitely increasing in strength. It goes in spurts. Like last year, I was kind of stagnant for a while. I had a couple of minor, not injuries, but tweaks here and there,
Yep.
hold you back a little bit. Last year, I was pretty much stagnant, and probably the last 4 or 5 months, I'm starting to see some more gains. So I'm still gaining some strength here and there. It's nice.
That's kind
Keeps
of
you
frightening to
motivated
hear.
for sure. So
Most of the guys we talk to feel like that you're the consensus for having the strongest arm, right-handed in the country, and so I'm sure that doesn't make them feel any better about themselves to hear that you're getting even stronger.
to get
well, I
that
appreciate that. So
to get that little bit of that little bit of boost that you've gotten over the last 4 or 5 months, did you have to change anything, or is it just consistency?
I think less stress in my life. Last year, I was going through a nasty divorce. It was a rough year. I didn't really. I mean, I trained, but my head wasn't in it. I'm seeing things more clearly now this year. I feel great. I got no injuries, no stress, and I'm feeling better than ever. So
Yeah, what a big something that's not talked about enough in any sport, in my opinion, is stress. And also, as far as recovery goes, no one ever talks about the immune system.
No.
That's what heals you, right? And like stress, everybody knows that if you get stressed out, if you're overworked, you get sick. So it wouldn't, of course, it would make sense if you're really stressed out that your strength gains and recovery is not going to be that great. So that's cool to hear.
Yeah, another thing, also, like I was diagnosed with sleep apnea too, and I ended up getting a CPAP machine back in February. It took a while to get used to, and I tell you what, it helps. It's huge. I feel. I mean, I was, you sit and trying to go to work. You're tired. Middle of the day, you're tired. No matter, you're tired all the time. You get 8 hours sleep and you're tired. Well, that CPAP machine, it works wonders. I tell you, I feel night and day to the way I felt last year. So
Yeah, I have a few friends, have said the same thing. It really is kind of a miracle machine for people who need it, without a doubt. And I can see how that. I mean, all those things that you're saying, obviously that makes a gigantic difference in your life. I mean, it's interesting that you say, you don't have a lot of stress considering, your job. Most people think that working in a prison is an extremely stressful environment to begin with. And I mean, do you find that to be true? I mean, I don't know if have you created any kind of arm wrestling culture in your prison with either the inmates or the other guards, or I mean,
Yeah.
is it a source of stress for you, or have you worked it out?
Well, the job is as stressful as you make it, really. I mean, I go in there, I do my 8 hours, I go home, I do my job. I'm not going to be an a-hole to people just because they're not the best people in the world. I go and do my job. I respect them, they respect you. I joke around with them. They would watch a show on TV. They'd watch Game of Arms. They always want to arm wrestle me. I can't do it because liabilities. I'm not allowed to arm wrestle.
Yeah.
But they'll always be like, hey, let's arm wrestle. It's always they're always messing around. So it's really not that stressful a job for me. Like I said, it's like any job. You have your days, but it's really not that bad.
It's too bad you can't arm wrestle them. That whole liability thing, man, in this country especially, sometimes it goes a little bit too far. I can imagine it would be a lot of fun to have a tournament with all the guys in there.
It would be. I'd love to do it. I mean, that's something I would like to do, but I could talk to my warden sometimes, set something up.
Yeah, because I mean, I worked with juvenile justice for about 20 years. I never worked with adults, but I mean, we used to do stuff like that all the time, and it's incredible, like stress relief, for the guys, because they got nothing to do, they got nowhere to go, they're stir crazy, all this stuff, and so just giving them a new outlet, they get excited about it, everybody's laughing, having fun, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But the liability is a real issue. It's too bad how it takes over a lot of conversations these days.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
How long have you been in that field?
I started in 2009, so going on 7 years.
Okay, so what did you do before that?
My family owned a garden center, so I worked the landscaping part for them. I'd plant trees and do landscape design for them and stuff like that. Out doing that kind of stuff, digging holes and stuff, basically.
Yeah, see, that explains a lot right there. Pulling trees out and stuff like that. That's some power. It's not.
Oh yeah, it
explains a lot.
It's a tough job. I'm digging with a shovel and pretty much dirt that's like concrete.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job. I don't think after working at the prison 7 years, I don't think I could do it anymore. I'd probably be crippled.
Yeah, but it's so good for you, man. It's incredible how many people in this sport have done some kind of job that involves very challenging physical labor at some point in their life. And it seems like that's you get to that strength and it creates like a base in your body. You never really lose it. You might not be at the same peak, but like
Yeah.
your tendon strength, once you get it, I mean, it's not the same as
Sure.
muscular strength. You keep it exactly.
Mhm.
You keep it. So I mean, it probably has something to do with your dominance. You know.
Maybe right there.
I know Ron Klemba, he loves chopping wood.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to. He's one of those guys like, dude, I don't have to do it, but man, it just makes my hands so
Good.
strong. It makes his hands strong. So he's like, I'm just gonna do it. And his hands, like, he goes, they hurt all winter long. He goes, and then I take a break for a tournament, and they feel so good. So there is that manual labor aspect of things. Doing some.
So I got a question here from Bulgaria about basically, are you going to come back overseas, and are you currently allowed to pull overseas?
Well, I would love to come back overseas. I don't think they have the A1 anymore. That guy ripped myself and John and Todd off of quite a bit of money.
That's what I heard.
I think that tournament's done. I would love to pull Zloty again. I don't know if that'll ever happen with the contract stuff. I wanted to pull last year. I was going to go, and I negotiated a deal with Igor, but then I asked him if it was going to be televised, and he said it's possible. Well, if it's possibly going to be televised, there's no chance that I could, go over there because my contract states I can't be on TV other than with a WAL.
Sure.
So I wasn't going to take a chance and go over there. But I was ready to go. And if for some reason something changes, I'll be ready to go again. I mean, the competition over there is awesome. The Zloty tournament was probably one of the most exciting tournaments I've been to back in 2013. The atmosphere, the competition. He puts on a good tournament, and I would love to do it again.
Yeah, and being around
Do you
Timmy,
think? Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Enough where he's like, those tournaments are phenomenal, and the people are amazing. They treat you so well, and they're just so fun to be around. So yeah, I can definitely see. I really hope that things do unify at some point. I mean, every couple of years, everything changes anyway. So I'd love to see it all happen again, just because everybody wants it to happen. If the Polars want something, it's kind of like the one national argument. If the Polars want it, well then eventually it will get it. It's just the way there's not enough money in the sport to where that's not going to be the case. So I'm sure we'll see it again.
Do you I mean, you're one of the guys that the contracts are really aimed at, Dave. Do you think that, a lot of people have a problem with it because, like you're saying, you can't pull Zloty and, you can't do PAL and WL. Do you feel like they're a good thing or they're the start of a good thing? I mean, obviously they're not ideal currently, but do you think that it's a good idea to at least have contracts?
I understand them. I totally do. Whether it's a good or a bad thing, I don't know. I've made more money with the WL in the last 2 years than pretty much my entire arm wrestling career before that, so I really can't complain about the contract. And there's still some pretty darn good competition in the WL. I mean, I just don't get to pull the European guys. So, like we were talking before earlier, hopefully, someday we can unify everybody and get everybody on the same page and have one big league. That would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen. I can see a lot of money in that, so I'm sure it'll definitely happen.
Yeah,
I think it will too. Everybody wants that.
Yeah, I think everybody
We
wants
kept
it.
John for an hour. I mean, I know you got Sorry, John. What were you saying?
No, go ahead. You were breaking up a little bit, Josh.
Oh, because I have the worst connection of everybody up here in Boston, city or anything.
Oh, come on, Josh.
Uh,
Pull it together.
can't hear you.
Yeah, come on, dude.
Well,
Well, basically, I think Josh
Well,
was.
he's just froze. You look nice with the frozen face there, though.
Come on, Josh.
guy,
Seriously.
whatever.
Well, what I think he was trying to say, Dave, is he's pretty sure you're probably pretty busy and everything.
I just
But
want to make sure you know we.
thanks for coming on. We definitely had a good time with you, and we really appreciate you coming on and just talking arm wrestling.
Well, absolutely. I thank you guys for having me. I have a great show, so I hope you continue this for quite some time. It's a pretty awesome show you guys got going on here.
Yeah, we will, because we really
Appreciate it.
we work so little at it, to be honest with you. Josh does all the work with getting guests, and then the rest of it is like he just tells me when to show up, and we just talk. So
Still,
yeah, until that stops working, we'll probably just keep doing that. But we wish you the best of luck in finals, and we'll look forward to watching you pull and seeing you do well.
sounds good. Thanks a lot.
All right, Dave, take care.
Yeah.